It's very proud to be here to present this Estonian e-Cadastre system, what we have built recently. And today I just give an overview of our Cadastral system. And as you see, we are very close to land register. We are trying to be the best friend or a very close relative, but we have different parents. They are working under the Ministry of Justice and we are working under the Ministry of Environment. But thanks to X-Road system, we are very close, even from a source of different families. Okay, what's the source of Cadastral in Estonia? Our job is dealing mostly with location data. And as you can see, the scope of data is quite small. We are dealing cadastral parcels, cadastral parcel boundaries. Most of the cadastral units were already formed in register. Quite huge part of the cadastral system is object cost restrictions. It's very huge amount of data, and it's a very good to have a experience to collect data outsourced from very different other state registers. Also, we have administrative boundaries. It's quite simple way. It's very small part and it's easy part of this register. So, our content of cadastral register is, as I mentioned, we are dealing mostly with boundary data, and we are focusing on boundary. We are very much communicating with land surveyors. And as you can see, we have already also an address in our register, what is very important for land register, and intended use, what is, how to say, one legal part of cadastral unit. Also, we have an area by land cover, is a source of statistical information and the assessed value. We calculate all the assessed values of for all cadastral units, and this is base data for land taxation. So we built a new software at the beginning of 2014, and it was made by one Estonian IT company. This software was, our goal was to build a software what is accessible mostly from everywhere, but we are not so far that our office workers can work in a home. We still have our paper archive, what we need. We haven't digitized all our paper documents yet, but the goal is the same. We have a software that can be used in Spain, like it was an example before. This is very technical part, but what I want to show there, our database is based on Oracle. We are not very we don't like it very much because it's very good, but it's very expensive. So we are moving away from it. Also, Oracle Spatial is not anymore a top player in the geoinformatic world. I think it's PostGIS and Esri or some other solutions. So I skip this technical part. Okay, how it looks inside our e-Cadastre workplace. It's like a workbench There we have a special virtual office for surveyors. All our surveyors are private surveyors in Estonia. They are working alone. They have a license to work. They can have their own office, of course. And we build a virtual office for them. There they can prepare all the survey data and the files to give it to Cadastral for registration. And they use it also for communication with Cadastral system, or Cadastral register. Our Cadastral register uses our procedure model. They can form Cadastral units if they receive data from surveyor. And of course, very important part is a map. We focus on a map very much. This is a part that we visualize like this legal and land register world. Because our most important workbench is a map that we work. Also, we have, of course, a digital archive, because today everything is in, all procedures are already in digital. So we store all digital files, starting from applications to at the end of a registration procedure, and some statistical model and administration model. But also we have implemented all kind of web map services for professionals, that they can use our cadastral data like services in their own software. We try to be as open as possible, so I think all spatial data what we have collected in Cadastral or other databases in Landboard, we have opened in some web map services, and it's free of charge of use. But just for ordinary people, we implemented a web map application, like internet application, to observe and to get to see all these cadastral boundaries. We have opened our Estonian land board geoportal, and it includes every information our collected spatial data. I think a part of this application have already translated in English, so you can just click on it and find everything what we have. And what we done last summer, we opened all our spatial data, all cadastral data as open data. So we created some download services that everything can be downloaded in vector format. All professionals can use it. And we don't earn any money for selling data. We think it's more efficient that everyone can use this data. It's very efficient for quality reasons. Before we realized, before that, this data was quite expensive, and we have a lot of quality problems that when if someone have ordered some kind scope of cadastral data, they try to use it as much as possible, but we changed the data. So there was different versions, and it made a lot of mistakes. So now it's we don't have these problems anymore. Everyone can access, as you can see, to these data in 3 different methods, or downloading it or using some services what we have created. Another very big part of cadastral system is a restriction information system. We interconnected to 7 different state other registers to collecting all spatial data what can raise some kind of restrictions. As you can see, restriction can be grouped in protected national objects. As you can see, 26% of land have some kind of environmental protection and water protection and the technical facilities. There are very huge amount of data, but the buffer zones are very small or restriction zones are very small. So only 6% of land is restricted by some kind of technical facilities. But the part of our info system, it's the biggest part because there are very many all kind of power lines and all other technical infrastructures. And of course, some state essential facilities like in military objects and planning and restrictions. We collected it in one info system, and what we do, we calculate and join the data of cadastral unit. So you can query this data and get the answer what restrictions are situated on that parcel or land. This is a legal grounds of restrictions. Our next step to we include only these restrictions from the public law acts, but our next level is to collect all the restrictions of private law, like servitudes and others, and put them on the map either. We are just starting this project. There is, I think, the big challenge is how to get this location data from the documents, because we know that land register have all these documents digitized, but it's not very easy to use it because it's not this kind of location data or spatial data that we can transform it quickly. We try to figure out how to read this data as much accurate, and probably some persons must make the decisions, because these private law restrictions are included in contracts, and some places the maps what they add are very poor, and it's only in like a picture. It's very hard to read it, but somehow probably we can manage it. Okay, it's just an example of how big part is utility networks in restriction information system. It happened that all these utility networks should be in the building register, but they were not able to collect all this data because they have very strong policy to get very accurate data. But we have another policy to gather as much as possible data and later dealing with all quality issues. So we covered all this data, and today building register already started to have negotiation to take from the restriction information system all these utility networks, where we covered all this information only for a purpose to get this restriction information. This is also example of utility networks. And what we do when we cover all these restrictions, we calculate the intersection of the cadastral unit, and everyone can have a query what kind of restriction is on my land. There we locate, and our purpose is to show all these restrictions, visualize where they locate, that people can realize and understand it, because there were 21 public law acts. We don't think that all people can remember all 21 public law acts and walking around and understand, okay, I remember this act and there have this kind of restriction. I don't allow to plant a tree because there is some kind of power line. But they can go to restriction maps and they can see all these zones. Also, all kind of professional like planners and architects, and they use it. And real estate investors are very much interested about this information. What we are trying to build now is an application for our smartphone that you can look around where these restrictions are, so to simplify this information as much for a landowner. But what about cadastral, the most important part, the cadastral unit boundary? We call cadastre as a land reform register, and we want to change this. We are not very satisfied because all the principles in our system now is built up for forming a new cadastral unit. But as you see, already most of the cadastral unit have been formed. Most of the land have been registered in cadastre. And now is very big question what for land cadastre should be. What is the purpose of land cadastre? And we think the main purpose of land cadastre is to be the basis of land management or land consolidation information. These are the new principle of our new cadastre. We want to move from the cadastral unit-based system to a point-based system because we don't need to form any more the full cadastral unit as a new cadastral unit. We now have a challenge to make a system that everyone can change the boundaries where they need as quick as possible. And usually it's not a full part of cadastral unit, it's only some points of boundary there the changes must be changed. So we created a concept of boundary-based system and tried to fulfill the part of survey that the surveyor only surveys these boundary points what we need to make changes in cadastral unit boundary. And cadastral register will form this new cadastral unit in a register side. It's not anymore land surveyor's job. Land surveyor are only determining mark and survey boundaries. And the final decision comes from the cadastral register, who will take all the survey data, all other sources of data, because we have other spatial sources either, and make a decision what is the best, what are the best location data for this to get the most accurate data for cadastral unit. And they will also, cadastral register will then calculate the area. The area is the final part of the registration, not the first part like was before. So we are now building also a system there. Many land consolidation issues can be done without surveying. If there are boundary points that have enough accuracy and you can use them, so you don't need to go outside, then you don't need to pay for a surveyor. So our register can do it during one day. And we are very much moving on that side, that it's starting with, it's starting like an application from a landowner, that landowner can start to draw their dream cadastral unit, and our register just looking on it and make the changes. And after that, we interconnect through the X road and we can make the changes in land register. Because we think there we don't change the ownership, we can change the boundary very quickly. We just send the new data to land register, and if they want to change ownership, like in some way of transactions, they go to the land register. But there are very many land management issues where you don't change ownership, you just specify more boundary, and you can do it in some way. Most of them, a lot of issues you can done in register in digitally. In our principle, we want to integrate our topographic database. Topographic database is another very big spatial database that we collect topographic information, and we calculate all the cover of cadastral unit based on a topographic database. Before there was a source of land surveyor. Land surveyor need to go outside and measure all this data, but and then they register it in a cadastre, and there was a situation that where was two cadastral units. One have a land cover information from the year of 2000, and the other have information from the year of 2015. But now we calculate this land cover information every year automatically and make the entrance. It has the same method for all cadastral units, and we trust our topographic database very much. We think it has quite good precision, so we even want to move in that way that we connect our boundaries with topographic database. If topographic database changes, like some coastline, we want to automatically change cadastral unit. Let's see. I understand, I'm not a lawyer, but I understand the lawyers say that this is allowed to do, so it's only a technical way we try to build it out. And this, only some words about our topographic database. We collect the data from orthophotos, and we do mapping, and we enter it in a topographic database. These data are also open data and free of charge. You can use it and download it. I don't know, do we have something for money? Probably something we have, but most of our spatial data are free already. And the student topographic database is a database which will be, like we call an umbrella for a spatial data for all other state registers or private companies. We want that they use it very much. Our biggest competition are Google Maps and etc. But I think we win a lot because our precision and detail are very much better, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Priit. Any questions to Priit? Please feel free to ask.
That everybody can use land cadastre data.
Yep.
Do you know what kind of services has private sector built or created based on the cadastre information?
I know that they created some smartphone app. There you can just look, is it state land or private land? When you are hiking around, you don't, if it is a state land, then you can go and for hiking there and have a. But when it is a private land, you need to know it. This is one part. Also, I think some forestry companies they use it very much, but they are not very open. I think they use it. I don't remember more. I'm working very much in my office on it.
Yes, anyone else? Okay then. Thank you again, Priit.